Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood Peter Man here, and today I want to talk about acrylic paint markers. Now for a long time I've been using something called Posca pens, and someone messaged me on Instagram saying, hey, have you ever tried acrylic paint markers? And I was like, yeah, Posca pens, I use those all the time. In fact, like some of these white ones here I've loved because they're a great way to make white lines when a lot of other pens and markers fail at making nice opaque white lines. But then the person messaged me saying there's a lot of other options out there. And I thought, hey, maybe it is time I try some of the other options. As much as I love these, I'm not going to quit using these. I have like a whole big box of them right here. So today we're going to try, oh, that's right, we're going to try Ohuho markers. And I like Ohuho markers. Well, I don't know. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about these because first of all, they're pretty cheap. And when I tried the alcohol markers they have, they were a great cheaper alternative to the Copic markers I've been using for a long time. The Copic markers, well, they always struck me as being severely overpriced. Like they had somehow cornered some part of the art market, trying to convince everyone that they were the best, the only option. And then I started using these Ohuho alcohol markers, and they were just so much better and so much cheaper. So let's see. I've got this, what is this, a 60 pack of Ohuho acrylic markers. Let me unzip this real quick. See what first impressions are. Are they all going to fall out when I open it? Something fell out. Oh, some extra nibs fell out. Some pieces of paper. I think these are swatches for testing the markers. That's cool. Posca pens never came with those. And then there we have it. See, the Posca pens never came in a nice case like this either. Posca pens also are very expensive. So let's see if these perform well, even though they're a lot cheaper. Like, I feel like I remember going to the store and buying a Posca pen, and one of these, like $5 or $6. And it's that kind of pricing is what gets you to be afraid to use your own art supplies, which is a place we don't want to be in. Also, make sure you check the link in the description. It might be in the little shelf below my video if you don't have ad block on. If you do, I don't blame you. But I have some new shirts and stuff available on my Fourth Wall shop. There's one here with a big weird car crash on it. Nice warm sweatshirt for fall coming up. I don't know if I'm brushing the mic and making weird noises with my chin right now. Let me take this off for a second. Got a shirt under here. Check this one out. Check this out, a nice diagram shirt as well. So go look at what I've got. I'm adding new designs all the time. And now the first test, the first and most important test with any acrylic paint marker is to see if it works good drawing on skin. Got to do a little bit of priming to get started. A little bit of shaking maybe. Oh yeah, see the blue is starting to come out into the nib there. It's nice blue right there. So I got started nice, quick and easy. It was faster and quicker and easier than most of the Posca pens I've started using. And I'm sorry for continuing to reference the Posca pens, but those are really the only paint markers I've used before now. Let's see how this draws on my skin. That's pretty nice. I've done videos where I drew all over my arm with these with the Poscas, and it's just very satisfying. The acrylic paint is good because it washes off. It stays on pretty good, and then you just take a shower and it'll all come off. Upside down cloud, what do you think? And all of these are double-sided. Usually Posca pens just come with this more markery tip, but then on this side, what do we have? Oh, a finer tip. This needs to be primed a little bit too, maybe? There's like a darker blue coming out of there. I'm not sure what's going on. It's dribbling all over me. Can you guys hear the train going by? All right, this seems to be working pretty good too. This tip is much, I don't know, I don't want to say harder, maybe harder, firmer. It's pretty good. Right, good first impression, good first impression. Ohuho acrylic marker. Now I have some scrap cardboard here. I'm going to get a big piece of it and just do a drawing with the markers on a big piece of cardboard. That's the second test. And then, once I feel like I've got the feel for the markers, I'm going to use one of these birch panels and draw on wood. That's the plan. See how we do. So, I'm sure this isn't news to any of you, but it seems like the broad scientific consensus is that the human body, at its most basic and boiled down, is essentially a large meat tube where you can put things in one end and things come out the other end. Like you put food in, right? And poo comes out the other end, to put it bluntly. I think we're all mature enough to talk about that without giggling, right? The human body is an amazing thing, and I think I forget that sometimes, that it does so many crazy things all the time, even while I'm sleeping, while I'm just sitting here, while I'm doing other things. There's like a zillion things going on in my body that I'm not even aware of. And I only have a surface level knowledge of what's going on in my body. My body's doing it anyways. But it's even beyond the tube thing our bodies do. I also wondered sometimes, like, what if our things like our fingernails, which is cool that, you know, our body just creates fingernails out of nowhere. Like if you lose a fingernail, it grows back. Like it creates this fingernail material just out of, like, what is it created out of? Like, I guess you eat food, you just need like the standard nutrients and vitamins, and your body processes those and turns them into fingernails somehow. Like, how does that work? Anyways, it does that. But what if actually, like, my fingernails are also an end-to-end thing? I'm just putting this out there. I haven't heard it disproved yet, so I'm just positing it, okay? Like, what if my thumbnail actually doesn't end right there where it goes beneath the skin at the tip of my thumb? What if it actually keeps going down my thumb, down the back of my hand, down my arm, all the way to my elbow and my shoulder, and then somehow down my torso and down my leg, and my thumbnail on my left hand is actually connected to my big toenail on my left foot? And the same thing with all my fingernails. Like, what if my little finger nail on my right hand goes all the way through my body and is also connected to my little toenail on my right foot. Also, I know that at some point in school I must have learned how the digestive system worked, as far as like the stomach, the large and small intestines, and things like the kidney and the bladder and stuff. But for some reason, I kind of learned it and then tossed it to the wayside because it wasn't immediately relevant to most of the things happening in my life. But I recently thought about it the other day because part of this doesn't fit into the whole tube analogy. For example, drinking water and then peeing it out again. Because I, for example, kind of thought, without thinking about it much, that you drink water and then if you have, I don't know, enough, more water than your body needs or something, then you pee it out and it just kind of goes through you. But I feel like in my brief research, there's something much more complicated going on where you drink water and then it gets absorbed into your body through the cells in your stomach and in your small and large intestines through, I guess, meiosis. Is that the process where it gets absorbed through your cell membrane, cell walls? And then the water goes into your blood, and the water is flowing around your whole body, and the blood distributes the water to the cells in your body. For some reason, this was weird for me to think about because I was like, wait, there's water in my blood? But then it makes sense because, but then on the other hand, I was thinking it was weird to me because I was just like, I guess I just thought blood was full of blood. But then I guess, yeah, there's water in it. It's got to be, I don't know, it's something, I guess. And then the blood goes through the kidneys, I guess. I'm simplifying this a lot because I'm just now realizing how it works. The blood goes through the kidneys, which filters a bunch of stuff out, and then some of the extra moisture and water gets filtered out by the kidneys and goes into the bladder, and then you pee it out. So that's much more complicated than just being a tube. The water going in your mouth and then filtering through your whole body, through all your blood vessels, and then being filtered out by the kidney and then going into your bladder. I just think the weirdness of our bodies is just further proof that we can get used to anything. The fact that we are used to our own bodies and not continually and daily shocked and appalled and surprised by and grossed out by our own bodies. I mean, I am a little bit surprised by and grossed out by my own body, but the fact that it's not just like a constant thing, I think it further goes to prove that we can get used to anything, for better or for worse. What do you think? This is a very weird drawing for me. It kept on, the markers layered up like crazy. Like each marker would cover up the previous marker. Even the light colored markers would like do a lot of coverage for even darker markers underneath them. That was pretty cool. It's a cool way to draw that's also kind of like painting in the way that they cover each other up. You can go over other stuff. This is just a weird drawing. There's a lot. I feel like I went through several transformations is all. Anyways, I say they worked pretty good. Pretty happy with those. I like this whole thing right here. I'd say this is a success even though it's on a piece of cardboard. What do you think? Got a nice rough edge up here. All right, here's a little interlude between the last project with the paint pens and the next project with the paint pens that I had planned out, wherein I'm making a stand to hang art on. My art studio mate, Joe, helped me build this wooden thing, with just like some scrap lumber we had sitting around. Thank you. Big shout out to Joe for helping me cut and drill and build this thing. And then I put it out in the back patio of the art studio and spray painted it blue. And then I just started drawing on it with the paint pens, which worked great. And basically the idea is we're planning on having a little art show, and I wanted a little bit more flexible art hanging space. Like in some art studio, like art galleries, they have like movable walls, and we have a few movable walls for hanging things, but a lot of the walls in this place are just like covered in shelving and just stuff. There's just stuff everywhere. So I was like, hey, what if we just made like this weird, funky looking stand to hang art on, and then we can put the art anywhere and arrange the gallery setting space however we want. And then the stand itself can kind of be art too. And maybe it'll enhance the piece that's hanging on it. Maybe it'll distract a little. Who knows? Who cares? It'll be interesting, fun little project. That's why I kind of like this funky shape. And I gave it a funky color scheme too. Just a fun little project. So I painted it blue, and I drew on it with, I think, green markers, and then gave it some little touch-ups with just paintbrush and some yellow acrylic paint. And then, yeah, it works. It basically works really good as long as there's not like a stiff breeze in the space or nobody bumps into it. But I think that's the case with a lot of art. Most art isn't good for bumping into unless it's like a nice big steel sculpture in a public park or something that is meant for kids to climb all over, which I do love those things. I will climb on art if it's meant to be climbed on. I mean, I do love art that I can touch. That's one of my favorite things to do with art. All right, for this final project with the Ohuho paint pens, I got my birch board and I spray painted it with black spray paint, and then I gave it a couple coats of lacquer, and then that was just so that I could give it a little sanding with some fine grit sandpaper. And I did this for several reasons. First of all, I didn't want to draw right on the wood because in my experience, sometimes this creates a little bit of feathering as the paint seeps into the grain of the wood. That might or might not have been annoying or an issue. You gotta choose your battles. But also I wanted to try these markers out with a dark background to really see how opaque they were, right? And then the reason I put the lacquer on there is so that I could sand it without, sanding away the blackness. And I wanted to sand it so that, in my experience, when I sand it with this like 440 grit sandpaper, it really gives like a really nice tooth or surface for drawing on with these paint pens. At least I've had that experience in the past. And it all worked really good. I was happy with how it turned out. The only downside for working this way, and by this way I mean up with the painting vertical on an easel, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say painting, maybe I should say drawing, because this really was drawing, even though it's with paint pens or markers or whatever you want to call them. It really is drawing. I have less control over the lines, or maybe it's just because I'm not used to it. I've just spent so many years sitting and drawing at a desk where I can rest my arms down on the desk. Like gravity is like kind of helping me. But when you've got the painting up in front of you, I just feel like there's less control, or it could just be that I'm not used to it. Like I have that hunch that maybe I'm just not used to it, because I think almost by the end of this, after I've been working in this drawing in this vertical manner for a few hours, I felt myself getting better at it and gaining more control. I didn't really feel my arms getting tired or anything. It's just kind of holding the pen up, kind of floating in the air, that you lose some control. And there are people who use something called a maul, I think it's called, whereas it's kind of a stick with a little like soft thing on the end, or I've seen people doing really detailed, careful painting where you prop the stick on a different part of the painting where you're not going to affect anything, and then it's kind of going across the painting, then you can rest your hand on that stick. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how to spell that mall. I don't think it's M-A-L. I don't think it's M-A-L-L, like a mall you go to shop in, but maybe it is. I've just heard it said out loud, so I'm not sure how to spell it. Anyways, I could have gone that route, but I was having fun kind of being loose and sketchy with it, building up the tones by just kind of doing a lot of scribbling, but a lot of hatching. Like I could do a bunch of like blue lines, and then a bunch of like pinkish purple lines on top of them at a slightly different angle, and then you get a bluish purpley color if you stepped away, right? So it was kind of fun to build them up in that way and get different shades and colors, and it was a cool texture. So I had a good time working with it. It's very different, so it was challenging in that sense. It's very different than the way I normally draw, and even now I'm still not used to color. Like I still have this urge to just use every color. Like in that first drawing and a lot of other my colorful paintings, I sit there and I ask myself, I think about the whole rainbow. I ask myself, Roy G. Biv, you guys know that? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and I go through all the colors I've used, and I say, have I used all of these yet? I'm just asking myself, which color could I add that I haven't used yet to kind of flesh this out? But I think I should really experiment more with a limited color palette, and I think a problem with some of these like paint pens, paint markers, is a lot of these colors are just so vibrant. There's not a lot of like darker and muted colors, which is something you have more opportunity to work with when you are actually painting, and you can mix your own paints, right? Because then you can mix in a bunch of white or black. I think they usually say don't mix in black and white, but to mix in like other colors like purples and blues, or I don't know. I'm far from an expert at painting, but I've heard that said. But anyways, it was fun, and I think I did start moving in that direction already, because if you look at this last drawing I'm doing here now, I didn't use all of the colors of the rainbow. Like I didn't use any green, I don't think. I didn't use any orange. I did use a brownish orange, but I almost didn't even use any red, but red is just too delicious of a color to not use. So I left a few colors out, and I think it was good for it. Also, when this painting was done, I did something I might have regretted a little bit. I'm not sure. It kind of looked a little bit fleshy, like it could have been like a diagram of like a cross section of some part of a weird body, maybe an alien body. And so usually I spray either satin or matte finishes on my paintings, but for this one, I sprayed a gloss finish on it because I kind of wanted it to look a little bit wet or shiny, like it was a little bit fleshy. But just the downside of a gloss finish is it's just so hard to look at sometimes. If there's any amount of light in the room at all, you're always getting that glare, right? That's just the huge downside, I feel like. And I was trying, I had it outside and I was spraying the gloss finish on there, and I was just spraying my brains out on this thing. I was actually trying to get it to form like those drips and dribbles that form when you like overspray, when you spray too much, and it wouldn't do it because I thought maybe it'll look even like it'll make this cool weird fleshy effect if there are some blobs of the varnish or the lacquer or whatever I was spraying on there. Maybe if there are some like glistening textural things that look like fleshy wet droplets on the surface of it. That's kind of what I was going for. But even though I sprayed so much, like on the can it says to do a lot of thin coats, I did a few really thick coats, but still it was just super, super smooth. No droplets formed, even though I was trying to get them. And then in so much of my other experience, the droplets seem to form so quick when I'm not trying to get them. It's just one of those things. Oh, well. You live and you learn. I'm not sure what I learned from this, except that sometimes you don't get what you want. And so you just move on to the next one. But I'm happy with how these look. I like these Ohuho markers. I've been happy with the Ohuho art supplies. The what are they called? Oh yeah, alcohol markers, and now the acrylic paint markers. I mean, I think they're just, competition is good, right? I feel like so many of these other art supplies companies maybe had the market cornered a little bit, and so they were expensive, and maybe they were expensive for almost no reason. I don't know. The quality of these seem good. They have better selection. They come in a cool they come in a cool little zippered up binder thing with little pockets for all of them. I don't know. I like it. Look, I don't know how someone makes a new art supply company. It seems weird, kind of like when you go on Amazon these days and you're used to, buying a shirt, and you're like, oh yeah, let me get like a shirt from like a brand I know. But then nowadays there's like 1 billion brands from names of companies that look like someone smashed their face on the keyboard. Has anyone else experienced this? And it seemed, my hunch is that all the factories over in China that were making shirts for like Nike or LL Bean or whatever company they were making shirts for, they realized they could just make shirts under some random other name and sell them on Amazon and not split the money with the bigger name brand. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent, but maybe even these same companies that make the paint markers for a higher priced art brand are just selling them under a new, cheaper name and keeping more of the money. I don't know how it all works. I have baseless hunches. I don't know what it takes to make a factory that makes paint pens, but I'm happy with these. That's all I'm saying. And yeah. Maybe I need to see if there are Ohuho colored pencils now. See how they go. Because in my past experience, colored pencils, the quality does really set colored pencils apart. Like the quality of the pigment and the core. So I'm curious. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. This is a pretty long video, but I did a lot in it, I think. So I'll see you later, and take care of yourselves, okay? Love you. Bye.